You just spent $70 on a game, but tomorrow, the publisher could decide you are not allowed to play it anymore. Gaming is being rebuilt as a luxury trap, and while consoles and handhelds hit record prices, the buy button is becoming a lie. Already you are paying more for products that can disappear once a company loses interest. Recent reporting makes the trap hard to ignore because consoles, games, subscriptions, and handhelds are all getting more expensive. Business Insider framed gaming as a luxury hobby, with the PlayStation 5 disc edition around $650, Mario Kart World at $80, and Steam Deck models becoming brutal for normal wallets. Steam Deck Jump proved it, because the 512 gig model rose from about $550 to almost $800, while the 1 terabyte model climbed from about $650 to almost $950. Nobody serious says companies should eat every cost forever. However, customers are allowed to notice when prices rise, but respect does not. Premium should mean polished, complete, stable, and worth the extra money. Commonly, AAA means bigger download, louder marketing, slower menus, missing features, launch patches, and an executive explaining why disappointment is an engagement plan. Companies did not make gaming premium. Expensive became the new normal for being exploited. Behind the price hikes sits the other machine, the one publishers call modern design. Many AAA companies still talk about art, worlds, creativity, and passion, but too many projects chase whales, daily logins, rotating shops, skins, timers, fake currencies, and charts. Former BioWare producer Mark Darrah warned that almost every AAA game could become live service, because companies want you paying forever instead of buying once. Darrah also criticized whale spending and number chasing, meaning the game serves the spreadsheet before the player. Does any of this sound like art to you? Because it sounds like a digital retail space with a mini-game attached. But the price tag is only the first trap. Real danger is not just what it costs to get in. Trouble begins when the company decides the game is over. Live service is not automatically evil. Fortnite works because millions of people want to return. Warframe works because its players built a relationship with it. World of Warcraft proved that an online game can become a habit without pretending empty tasks are meaningful. Executives learned the wrong lesson. Apparently, they saw successful communities and thought the secret was a store tab. Here the scheme shows. Sensible players do not hate every shop. Gamers understand optional cosmetics. Ordinary people accept ongoing support when the base game respects their time. What they hate is when the shop feels more reliable than the product. Matchmaking fails, quest bugs, servers break, and menus freeze, but the premium bundle always loads perfectly. Calling it innovation to delete a game I paid for is not just greedy. Honestly, it is an insult. Modern publishers do not only want you to enjoy the game. Habit becomes the product once a payment method is attached. Another lazy defense says gamers are just broke and angry. Wrong, because players pay when the deal feels honest. Elden Ring sold because the value was obvious. Baldur's Gate 3 sold because people felt the craft. Payment is not the issue. Insult hides inside the deal. Customers pay more while receiving less ownership, less polish, less originality, less permanence, and more corporate begging. Soon I will show you why a $30 game made by 10 people embarrasses billion-dollar giants. Windows Central reported that many players are shifting toward cheaper games and voting with their wallet. Audiences are not walking away from games. Basically, they are walking away from being treated like farm animals with wallets. Preservation campaigns became important because the industry sold digital products and then acted confused when customers got angry after those products vanished. California's Protect Our Games Act passed the state assembly 43-16, pushing the fight into lawmaking. Europe's Stop Destroying Video Games initiative gathered nearly 1.3 million verified signatures, which is not an internet tantrum. Listen to that number again. Nearly 1.3 million people. This is not just a loud Reddit thread. That is a stadium of customers tired of their hobby being treated like a rental service. Seriously, does that sound like a fringe problem to you? Lawmakers are starting to treat it like something closer to a crime. Yet the signal is clear. Needing laws to tell companies not to delete things people bought is the whole joke. Clearly, Ubisoft became the warning label because the crew turned theory into proof. Buyers paid for a racing game. Shutdown killed the servers. Access disappeared. Product turned into memory with a receipt. Reuters reported that French consumer group UFC Quechoiser sued Ubisoft over the crew shutdown, arguing players expected lasting access, while Ubisoft said buyers only had limited access. Lawyers can argue over terms all day. Normal customers hear something simpler. Imagine buying a chair and being told later that you never owned the chair, only a temporary sitting experience. Famously, Ubisoft did not just kill a game. Accidentally, it wrote the campaign ad for consumer protection. Still, losing access is not the only reason players are walking away. Even when the games work, they are starting to feel exactly the same. Bigger budgets were supposed to buy bigger imagination. Somehow they bought safer sequels, safer open worlds, safer checklists, safer brands, and safer boardroom decisions. Mark Dara has also argued that big companies are too scared to try anything new, and that too many expensive games now feel similar and empty. Industry analysis points to the same pressure, because huge budgets push publishers towards sequels and proven formulas. Risk scares investors, and that part is understandable. Anyway, players can ask why $200 million keeps producing the same map with different grass. Every major open world now seems to arrive with icons, towers, crafting junk, gear color, skill trees, and one tired vehicle. Strange ideas survive mostly when smaller teams prove them first. Afterward, AAA arrives with a committee, files down the sharp parts, stretches the runtime, adds a shop, and calls the result accessible. Creativity is not what that is. Graveyards of live service are full of confident executives. Each project arrives with seasons, founders packs, cosmetics, roadmaps, and language about community. Most players look for 1 week and leave. Shutdown notices, server offline screens, farewell posts, refund arguments, dead launches, empty roadmaps, and identical corporate thank you messages. Journalists at The Guardian describe the online gaming market as brutal, using Highguard as a 2026 example of curiosity failing to become survival. Publishers chase forever money. Leadership forgets players need one good reason to stay past Tuesday. Homework disguised as a login reward cannot be that reason. Meanwhile, cheaper games keep eating the industry's lunch, because they remember the ancient forgotten technology called fun. Indie and AA games are not beating AAA, because every texture has more pores. Clean value is why they win. Players pay less, download faster, understand the point, call friends, and start laughing before a AAA launcher finishes asking for permission. Reports from Windows Central pointed to cheaper games under $30 gaining traction, while players grow tired of premium pricing and subscriptions. Friendslop sounds insulting until 4 adults scream at a stupid creature and have more fun than they had in a polished corporate epic. AAA gives you a cinematic loading screen. A cheap indie gives you 3 friends screaming at midnight. Guess which one people remember? Forum anger is not just noise anymore. Corporations love calling backlash toxic until lawmakers, lawsuits, petitions, refunds, and sales numbers show up. Suddenly the same anger becomes valuable community feedback. Reddit threads around AAA cost, live service fatigue, battle passes, microtransactions, and weak excitement are not perfect evidence. Forums exaggerate, comments spiral. Bad actors exist. Nevertheless, repeated complaints across communities for years are not random smoke. Fans keep saying the same thing in different words. Charging more for less has to stop. Quit building chores instead of games. And the legal fog around ownership. Drop the idea that every title needs a store. Release working products before calling patches a journey. Ignored comments became legislation and publishers acted surprised. Broader damage matters more than one price hike, one bad launch, or one greedy publisher. Temporary products cross the line. Full price now often buys permission, not possession. Online dependency can turn a purchase into a countdown. Unfinished systems arrive with roadmaps instead of finished design. Corporate permission sits between customers and the thing they thought they bought. Campaigners at Stop Killing Games argue that games are sold like goods, but designed to become unplayable when support ends. European organizers ask the Commission to stop publishers from making games unplayable after sale. Consider the basic contract from a buyer's view, because that is where the industry keeps losing the room. Someone saves money, reads reviews, buys the product, downloads the patch, creates an account, accepts legal text, and hopes the game survives. Eventually, that customer learns the disc is decoration, the license is conditional, the server is essential, and the company can change the deal after the sale. Worse, the apology usually sounds like a hostage note written by public relations. Granted, support ended for business reasons, and maybe the player count was low. Fine, nobody expects a company to run expensive servers forever. Realistically, end of life should not mean end of access when offline mode, local hosting, or community servers could protect what people paid for. Simple preservation is not asking publishers to maintain a museum forever. Actually, it is asking them not to burn the museum down while holding the receipt in your face. Practically, preservation would create fewer scandals and fewer angry buyers, which should count as business survival for adults. Basic is what that demand is. Ownership should not be this complicated. When someone buys a game, should that game still exist in usable form after the company loses interest? Boardrooms hate that question because an honest answer exposes the trick. Finally, they sold ownership, delivered a license, killed the server, and then asked why players stopped clapping. The medium itself is not dying, trust is bleeding badly. Fun still sells. Good design still wins. Fair prices still work now. Respect still matters. Maybe AAA should stop treating player anger like ignorance. Choose better games, even when the marketing screams louder than reality. Reward complete products. Support studios that respect your time. Walk away from the trap when the deal is rotten. Otherwise, the future is simple. Paying customers will keep finding cheaper joy somewhere else.